I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education for Wilmette School District 39, this Monday, December 14th, 2020. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Lisa Schneider-Fabes,
Here.
John Caesaretti,
Here.
Frank Panzica,
Here.
Amy Paling,
Here.
Mark Steen,
Here.
Ellen Sternweiler, Aaron Stone.
Here. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Providing a high-quality instructional environment requires the participation, commitment of all stakeholders: staff, teachers, administrators, parents, students, and the broader community. We each have an important role to play. And to get the best outcomes, we need to work together. And in times of crisis, we need to rely on each other even more. But right now, in our community, this necessary partnership is under strain. It's imperative that we all take a minute to reflect on where we are and collectively commit to course correct. We want to come out of this pandemic as one district, one village. When I reflect, I see two causes for this fracturing worth mentioning. The first is COVID-19. Our children's educational and extracurricular experiences are neither what we expected nor what we hoped for. Work, home, school, and our social interactions have changed in profound and unexpected ways. While no two human experiences are the same, we all share in the collective struggle, disappointment, and loss. We are all juggling multiple roles and challenges. The stress that living through COVID has caused means many of us are short on patience or even angry. Those feelings impact our well-being and how we see and treat each other. The second is that we have severely restricted our human contact with one another. Communication comes via email or screen, and that makes us feel less connected and more isolated. And it makes it easier to communicate in ways that we otherwise wouldn't do if we were in person. This stress, combined with the lack of human contact, has resulted in a breakdown of civility, our humanity. I see this play out in three ways. The first, during board meetings, many public comments have become attacks on specific members or groups in our community. The language and sentiments contained in these emails can be unacceptably cruel. Hearing these comments read out loud in a public meeting can be particularly painful for those on the receiving end. The second is on social media, where parents, community members, teachers, and staff make comments about specific members or groups in our community in vicious or hurtful ways, or depict D39ers engaging in COVID unsafe behavior. Recipients of the communications take screenshots of those texts, Facebook posts, or tweets and share them broadly, oftentimes adding their own commentary. This fractures our humanity and further amplifies the missing civility among us, sometimes without the author even realizing the far reach of his or her words. What is written on social media has a rippling impact far beyond what the author's intended initial audience was. We know this. We teach our kids this, but we often fail to live it within our own lives. The third is communication with the administration in meetings or via email. I have seen or heard exchanges that are accusatory at best and degrading at worst. Whether negative comments are posted on social media, read aloud during a board meeting, or in a private email to the administration, the impact includes undermining morale, causing emotional distress, creating distrust, and lessening motivation. These communications tear us apart at the very time we need to be coming together to support one another, working towards our common goal, which is providing the best education possible for all students during a global pandemic. In these difficult times, we need to double down our humanity, and in doing so, we should treat those around us, both in person and remote, with kindness and assume that they are doing their best. It is in this spirit that we, the board, ask you to exhibit kindness and respect when you communicate with any member of the District 39 community, whether on social media, in person, or via private email. This doesn't mean stop questioning, advocating, or sharing. It doesn't mean that you're agreeing with what is happening or that you're approving of someone's behavior or performance. It means do unto others. Treat them the way you want to be treated and assume goodwill. It is in that spirit we have asked the administration to make immediate changes to the procedures for public comment at board meetings. Starting tonight, we will no longer read comments submitted via email. Rather, comments submitted by email will be distributed to board members via email and posted on the website as part of the board packet under written communications. If you would like to make a comment during the board meeting, you may come to the MEC in person or make a comment using Zoom, provided you have turned on your microphone and your camera. The same restrictions on time apply. Whether you submit your comments in writing or share them in person or on Zoom, please consider our request. Be kind, be respectful. This is what we ask of our students, and we are their models. It takes a village. And in this village, let's all keep working together to give our children the best possible education. Let's end this pandemic stronger together. And with that, I'll start the official board meeting. So as I mentioned earlier, for public comment, if you wish to provide public comment to the Board of Education remotely using Zoom, we ask that you please register prior to the meeting using the Zoom link provided on the agenda. You'll receive a confirmation email response with a link to access the meeting. During public comment, I will ask for participants to raise their hand. I will call on you and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Please, if you're going through Zoom, be sure your backgrounds are free from distraction, appropriate for a public forum, and that you're located in a quiet location. I'll now move to approval of the minutes. I seek a motion to approve the minutes of the November 16th, 2020 Board of Education meeting and the minutes of the November 30th, 2020 Special Education meeting.
President, would you like to do the Pledge of Allegiance before or after?
Very much. I'd like to do it right now. We have a video of Central students leading the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Becky Littman, the principal at Central Elementary School, and we are honored to be asked to lead the Pledge of Allegiance for this board meeting. I invited first graders from Mrs. Retzinger's classroom to represent our school. Before they lead us in the pledge, they asked if they could share what they're learning in music class with Mrs. Jeannie Gerke. Our students want to show you how they're learning to read and play rhythms to welcome the winter months. Thanks again for this honor, and I hope you enjoy our presentation.
No, I just want to say, we needed that. That was, that was absolutely delightful. And I just want to thank Principal Littman and the students at Central School. That was just really well done. And so now we'll resume back to order. Thank you very much, Mr. Panzika. I'll seek that motion.
I move to approve the minutes of the November 16, 2020 Board of Education meeting and the minutes of the November 30th, 2020 special meeting.
May I have a second?
Second.
The motion having been made and seconded, board members, are there any comments, errors, or omissions to the minutes? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we'll move to public comment. The board invites public participation at D39 board meetings. To accommodate participation in real time with COVID-19 pandemic in-person attendance restrictions, the district will be using Zoom webinar to facilitate this process. If anyone wishes to provide public comment, please raise your hand in Zoom. I must remind, first we'll actually go to in-person public comment. Are there members of the audience who would wish to speak? Please come forward. State your name and community of residence, and by board directive, you are allowed 3 minutes.
Can I take my mask off for speaking?
We
No?
can hear you.
Okay.
I would just go ahead and leave it on. Thank
Okay,
you.
my name is Evita Vulgaris. We live in Wilmette, and we are parents of twin seventh graders at WJHS. After talking with the principals at the other 3 New Trier feeder schools, namely Kenilworth, Winnetka, and Glencoe, it is indisputable that Wilmette is providing 3rd through 8th graders far less in-person instruction time than any of these neighboring districts. This deficit can only handicap Wilmette 7th graders as they and their neighboring peers prepare to take the New Trier high school placement test next November, and will no doubt set back Wilmette 6th and 8th graders in their high school futures as well. Kenilworth schools are in person full-time every day and have had no unplanned days off. In Winnetka, the junior high students go every day for half a day, and core subjects are taught 100% in person. They also have had little, if any, deviation of planned school days this year. Glencoe junior high students go every day for half a day as well, but for each core subject, they rotate. So half of the class is in person one day, while the other half is participating via Zoom. Of these districts, only Wilmette has anything like full asynchronous learning days, which in our household is little more than days off. Also, all of the other 3 New Trier districts that I mentioned started the school year on time. Wilmette did not. Surely these other models are far better, both academically and for the social, emotional well-being of their children. 13 years ago, when we became pregnant with twins, we chose Wilmette as the community for our family, first and foremost to the quality of the schools. Now, when our children are in the home stretch to high school, we find ourselves brainstorming about other options to get them daily into classrooms with their teachers and peers. In summary, I have an urgent question for the D39 administration and board. Is there any hope of D39 reconsidering their hybrid plan for the second half of the school year in light of the much greater level of core subject in-person instruction provided by our neighbors? Can we look to you to get our 7th graders back into their classrooms on an equal footing with our New Trier neighbors to make up what time they can for the few academic months that are left between now and the New Trier placement exams next November? Or is it necessary for us to move to a neighboring district to give our children a fair chance in high school? Dr. Cremascoli, we understand that we may be asking a very difficult question, and then it may be very hard to accept that the decisions we have made as a district may have put our children at a disadvantage to our neighbors. But we kindly request that you try to address this question during the meeting tonight, as I know several parents who would like to hear the answer. If that is not possible, please announce in what public forum or meeting we might get an answer. The question is not meant as a rhetorical criticism. It is a serious inquiry about an important issue. Okay.
You may, at the second public comment, you may speak for another minute if you'd like to finish your remarks.
Now?
No, there'll be another public comment later in the meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there other people who'd like to speak? Okay, so now we're gonna try the new Zoom public comment. Tony, I don't see anybody's hand raised.
Yeah, we do have one, there's two people in there, two people that have their hands raised, so I'm gonna move Kim over and
Great,
then
thank you.
she can go ahead and,
And to people watching at home, I'm sorry, but I can't really see, so we're gonna have Tony orchestrate.
yep. That's fine. Kim, you should now be over if you can go ahead and start your video and unmute yourself. Make sure we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. That worked very well. Okay, so my name is Kim Buckley. I'm from Wilmette. I'm speaking today on behalf of myself and my husband, Mark Buckley. We are parents of a Central and Highcrest student. And I just wanted to say to the teachers, to the staff, to the administrators, and to the board members of District 39, a heartfelt thank you for all the time and energy that you have put into our community, excuse me, our families and our children this year. To our teachers, thank you. You are working in insane conditions, from masks on you and the children all day, to kids in your classes moving in and out of quarantine, to those adapting to teaching full-time remote, and to being thrust into this national dialogue. Throughout that all, you bring high quality learning to our children. You are essential, and you deserve the highest respect for the work you do and the service you are giving our students and our town. To our staff and our administrators, we can only imagine how challenging your year has been. All the normal work you do, and then all the COVID protocols, the new procedures, the new schedules. We are so appreciative of your participation, your leadership, and your service. And a special shout out to the school nurses who have become these pandemic protocol warriors during this time. And to our board members, wow, definitely not what you thought you were volunteering for, and you are volunteering. Our town has been so fortunate to have your compassion, your endless time and energy, and your steady leadership. Thank you, Lisa, especially for your comments at the beginning of this. I thought they were very needed in this time. Dr. Cremascoli, we recognize that you have been put in an absolutely impossible position given the lack of and evolving guidance from a national and state level. You were essentially forced to become a pandemic expert in a short period of time and tasked with finding a solution that would please multiple constituents and their different demands. We appreciate the thoughtful, well-researched solutions you have brought to our district and believe that our community and our students have greatly benefited from your leadership. I hope that any negativity or disrespect that has been directed your way is incredibly overwhelmed by the knowledge that there are so many of us out here that feel compassion, appreciation, and are so pleased with the work that everyone in our town has done in our amazing community during an unprecedented global pandemic. You are solidifying our reputation and credibility as a wonderful place to live. I have two more quick points. That was sort of what I had written. I'm going to speak until you shut me up. Two more points. I keep hearing these comparisons to other feeder districts, and I'm shocked by them. We are a population, our town is 27,000 people. Kenilworth is 9% of that at 2,400. Winnetka at 12,000 and Glencoe at 8,800. What you all are doing, our board, our administrators, our teachers in this big town with many schools is, and you should be commended. Is that it? Was that my time?
Yes, thank you.
And Kim, I'm going to move you over back to an attendee in case you want to comment during the second public comment period.
Thank you.
And then we have one more person, Christopher, I'm going to move you over. And then if you would, turn on your video and unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can't see you though. Can you turn on your video, please?
I thought it was on. I apologize. There, I see now. Now I've got it. Okay, there it is. Okay, is that better?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm hearing a lot about how you're getting such negative feedback and I've only been participating in the last couple of board meetings. And while I've heard some criticism and some hard questions, and I've leveled some myself as well, I haven't heard anything that's been disrespectful. So whatever is coming across that must be coming through other channels, I want to say that that's not appropriate, and I'm sorry that that's happening. But there's a feeling. Dr. Cromascoli made a very impassioned statement at the last committee of the whole meeting about parents who are never satisfied, and that though it sort of made me feel, as someone who's been critical of the board and the administration, that I'm never satisfied or that I have no concern for the teachers. I got to tell you, out here in the community, talking to all the other parents, there's not a parent I know, including myself and my wife, who don't absolutely love their teachers and don't talk about how great their teachers are. The teachers in Wilmette are second to none. They're among the best professionals in the district and then in the profession. And everybody loves their teachers. I'd be very shocked if anyone is being critical of their teachers. But we are frankly looking to the administration and the board because we're struggling. And I know you're struggling. I know you are working in very difficult times, but we have two students that have been extremely bright, extremely successful, and in the last year they are struggling. They're really struggling. My son is struggling to get work done. He is very unmotivated. My daughter's doing better, but frankly, she's not doing well either. And they're going through this on the home stretch, as we see it, the home stretch into high school, into New Trier, which is one of the main things we came to this community to take advantage of. And we're in touch with their teachers. We're getting emails back and forth with their teachers all the time, but there's a great limit to what teachers can do across a Zoom connection. The difference to us is the in-person instruction, and it's the time that they have in the classroom with their teachers, and particularly it's the time that they have with their teachers in core subjects. And it seems very, very clear to us that other districts that feed into the New Trier are doing a much better job. Now, it may be that we're asking something that District 39 can't provide. If that's the case, then we have to live with that. But we still have, I think, the right and the obligation to call on you to try to provide that for our kids, to at least think about that, to consider that in your calculations. And I think you ought to be telling us why that's not possible, why we can't do what Kenilworth does, what Winnetka does. And if it's a matter of resources and population, maybe that's the answer that we need to hear.
But if you'd like to continue your the discussion, at the next public comment, you'll have an additional minute.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to move you over to attendee, and you can stay there if you want to comment during the next time.
Tony, are there other people waiting to comment?
There are not. That was it.
Okay, great. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but it's delightful actually seeing people.
Yeah.
Instead of being read to.
It's good.
I hope the community finds this to be an upgrade as well. But for me, just really hearing directly from people instead of hearing the emails being read by somebody else, it's just terrific. So yeah, it's great. So now I'm going to move to committee reports. Facility Development Committee. Amy is going to give a report in Ellen's absence.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start with the summer 2021 project planning updates that we discussed at our committee of the whole. The planning process continues to move along on the Ramona and Mackenzie Keep 39 expansion projects and the second floor air conditioning at Wilmette Junior High. So in November, STR issued the 60% design review, which has now been reviewed by many D39 administrators and maintenance staff. Joe Papanikolas compiled updated budget numbers. He stated the previous total for both school projects was 7.6 million. He noted the updated numbers are up by 3.5%. The current total for both schools is 7.9 million. Mackenzie at 4.4 and Ramona at 3.5. Nicholas and Associates is working with the design team to identify potential alternates to reduce costs and provide option for the board. The garden shed at Ramona is being considered as one alternate for redesign. He also noted that 244,000, 4% of the 7.9 is contingency allowance for any unforeseen expenses. He stated the budget is in a good place and expected budget refinements for the next round of estimates. Both projects are scheduled to begin in spring with completion in August. Mr. Papanikolaou stated that the junior high air conditioning project will be reported on in January, with 50% of the designs and construction documents being completed at that time. The final budget will be completed by the second week of February, with bid opening to be held in March. Financials were talked about later in the committee of the whole meeting. After discussion of the financials, the board supported moving forward with these projects. On a related topic, is this still under my committee? Yes. That we discussed the 2021-2022 options for Keep 39. The administration, on top of everything else, has worked diligently to consider and review options for enrollment in Keep 39 if the board were to determine that the immediate pursuit of the two necessary construction projects was not possible. That being said, the administration believes the district can financially support these projects and are in a sound fiscal position to be able to do so this summer. Proceeding toward accomplishment of these projects was recommended. Nonetheless, the administration developed contingency plans for Keep 39 enrollment in the event that construction was not possible. With the goal of ensuring that all kindergarten students have an equitable opportunity to enroll in Keep 39, the administration team developed and reviewed a variety of options. Each option was considered to evaluate feasibility, access, equitability, and impact. The best option available, if the board decides not to pursue construction, was presented and discussed. However, there are risks and disappointments that will be realized as well. If the team were to assume typical enrollment and sectioning, no construction at Ramona or Mackenzie, approximately 80 to 96 students enrolling in kindergarten at each school, and 4 classrooms available for kindergarten programming at Central and Harper, with 2 available at Mackenzie and Ramona, the district could pursue allocating 2 classrooms for each school's kindergarten with Keep 39 enrollment and 1 classroom for 2 half-day sections of academic kindergarten only. These spots would be allocated by lottery if interest exceeded space available. And some students who wish to enroll in Keep 39 may need to attend a school other than their home school. The detailed proposal would make Keep 39 available equitably to all students across the district, but there would not be sufficient spots for all students to enroll. Thus, a lottery would be conducted for Keep 39 spots. Other options presented if no construction occurred, including offering Keep 39 at each school as space allows, or not offering Keep 39 programming at all due to space constraints or the ongoing needs associated with the pandemic. The board expressed appreciation for the detailed contingency plans. However, after reviewing construction and the related finances associated with funding the projects, the board expressed support for ongoing work toward issuing construction specification and bid documents. A final decision regarding construction for Ramona and Mackenzie will not be made until February at the earliest. And that's the end of the report.
Very much. So now we are moving to school finance. John?
Thank you. So the School Finance Committee met as part of the Committee of the Whole on December 7th and reviewed our 5-year financial projections, mainly with an eye to whether or not we can afford Keep 39. So Mr. Boltmeyer, our business manager, stated that the 5-year financial projections cover financial years 2022 and to 2026. The projections show the operating funds ending above the 40% threshold established by the Board of Education for each year. The 3 construction projects the district is considering are included within this projection. With the end of additional COVID-19 expenditures being uncertain, FY 2022 projection also provided for the ability to absorb COVID-19 expenditures for another year if needed, and/or to support additional intervention support for students who may need it within the post-COVID environment. Major assumptions were included in the financial information. Mr. Boltzmeyer reviewed the revenues, noting the majority of revenues are accrued through property taxes and current fee structures, and expenditures largely spent on salaries, benefits, and healthcare costs. He noted the projections for 2022 and 2025 as a working document that continues to be reviewed to decide where the largest needs lie. Mr. Boltzmeyer reported, in light of the financial projections and district priorities for student learning and programming, the administration recommended proceeding with the 3 construction projects presented for consideration. The board expressed support for proceeding, acknowledging that a final decision to award the bids for construction at Ramona and McKenzie would not be made until February. And that's my report.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to move to the strategy committee. Mark?
Yeah, the strategy committee, which has continued to be more of the COVID committee than the strategy committee, but nonetheless met as a part of the December 7th committee of the whole. We had 3 major topics that we went through in quite an extensive discussion on each of the 3. The first of the 3 topics was the safeguard screening, testing, presentation, and discussion. Dr. Campbell of Safeguard Surveillance LLC provided the board with an overview of the recommended screening program. This program is being implemented at New Trier. It is a saliva-based screening program, and the test is not diagnostic, but rather it's intended to serve as a rapid test that can provide screening and an additional mitigation strategy to identify and isolate potentially asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic but infected individuals. The metrics advisory team suggested consideration of screening testing programs within District 39. And there is, and this is with an eye towards mitigating concerns that high levels of external community spread may increase the risk of positive cases within the schools. The district plans to initiate this program on a trial basis this week with a small cohort of students and staff. Assuming a successful trial, the district would like to launch the program district-wide in January to help support a safe transition back to the school following winter break. The screening program will cost the district $11 per test, plus some resources for logistical management and oversight of the program. The district will cover the cost of participation in this screening testing program for students and staff. But we will also offer the parents the opportunity to contribute to the cost of testing for their child or children. So that's the screening testing program, and we're very excited about that, and we will hear more about it, no doubt, in January. The second topic that we discussed at length was in-person learning surveys and the ongoing improvement efforts. Ms. Katie Lee provided a follow-up report to the in-person learning program review report that was presented at the Board of Education meeting. That Board of Education report provided survey results, while this report shared the work of a committee who met to develop recommendations and an action plan on December 1st. The committee formulated 4 recommendations. The first was improve adherence to health and safety protocols such as social distancing and mask wearing. In addition, provide ongoing guidance on quarantine guidelines for students, families, and staff. And as a reminder, these are all recommendations that came out of the survey. So these were areas where the committee felt that we could do better based on the results of the survey. Recommendation number 2 was address the social and emotional needs of students more comprehensively. Recommendation number 3 was to further address the needs of 5 through 8 students who require additional support academically during remote learning day within the hybrid model. And recommendation number 4 was to increase the positive impact of in-person and hybrid learning on the staff's personal well-being and feeling of safety. The board agreed with all of the recommendations and asked follow-up questions on what was needed to implement all of them. The committee is working on them all and had no requests at the present time, but will get back to us if they do. We're excited about all 4 of those opportunities for improvement. The third major topic of discussion was a discussion of the in-person instruction plan for the weeks of December 14th and January 4th, and we also discussed the week of January 11th. This board spent a substantial amount of time discussing opportunities for in-person instruction for the weeks of December 14th and January 4th. The board reviewed metrics and carefully considered operational challenges, and after much deliberation, the board settled on, as many of you know, an in-person instruction model for all grades this week, and which is the week of December 14th, and doing a planned adaptive pause to in-person instruction the week of January 4th in order to support a smooth, successful, and safe transition back from winter break, along with the implementation of the district's COVID-19 testing programs. As I just mentioned a minute ago, we anticipate that week of the 4th, we hope that we will be able to provide saliva screening testing, which will help us have increased assurance of the well-being of all of our students and staff before we come back on January 11th. And as I also mentioned, we did discuss January 11th week a little bit, and the board was strongly in favor of coming back to a full in-person, a hybrid in-person, but for all K through 8 that week, pending the metrics, which we have not yet seen. And so we'll have to see how things develop over the next several weeks. And that's the report from the strategy committee.
Would you like to keep going as we move on to the liaison reports and go ahead and report on?
I would love to keep going. Thank you, President.
H, why don't you take the CRC report?
I will take the Community Review Committee report. The CRC met on Wednesday, December 9th, led by Mr. Nathan Harada and his colleagues. Shauna Smith, the vice president, was actually running the meeting for most of it since Nathan had to be remote. The committee discussed the CEC recommendations. Remember, the CEC is our consultants that we've hired to help us with the strategy plan for this year. In the prior meeting, the CEC had given us a presentation, and in this meeting, the CRC members reviewed what was recommended by the CEC and began to discuss which parts they thought were best to emphasize for D39 specifically to tailor the program to our needs, and where they thought the CRC would best engage in helping support those needs. So we broke into committees, and each committee discussed several of the recommendations. And when we came back, I think I would summarize it by saying we discovered we had quite a number of talents on the CRC, as is typical most years. And there are a number of places where the CRC will be able to engage and support the strategy program this year. The subsequent follow-up was that Mr. Harada sent out an email to assign people into committees. Each committee will be assigned to specific work, and that's the discussion of the next meeting, which is, I believe, on January 5th. That's the CRC report.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and take the D39 Educational Foundation report. So I was lucky enough to attend the November 19th, 20:27 p.m. Zoom meeting of the Educational Foundation. It was well attended, lots of great spirit. We had a guest speaker, the librarian Linda Dykman from Central School. She thanked the foundation for its support of the SORA program that is now being implemented. In the district, we had heard about that at a previous board meeting, where District 39 has transformed to a digital media platform. So it was really exciting to hear all about that. The annual appeal is underway. If you haven't gotten a letter, that it's probably coming. This year's annual appeal is important because there are no in-person fundraisers, as in a normal year. Sam McCallion made a very generous donation to be used towards fine art pursuits. And foundation was delighted, especially this year, thinking that it was a really great way to motivate students. The foundation unanimously voted to fund the Ramona Mud Cafe GRIP grant. There are, the Village of Wilmette businesses decided that D39 would be amongst one of the recipients, the 4 recipients on the 12 days of giving. That had already passed December 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The foundation is looking into how to put its famous bingo and trivia nights, how to COVIDify them, maybe? Put them on a virtual platform. And I think the last thing I have to say on that is that the Fine Arts group is working on a project to highlight students' positive experiences that have emerged through the COVID-19 pandemic. So that is that report, and now I'm going to turn it over. Oh, I don't think we have the Illinois Association of School Board report, given that Mr. Sternweiler is not here. So we will maybe see if we can put that on the website when we get that from her. Legislative update, Ms. Stone.
Yes, we have a few things happening on the federal level. One is that a bill called the Keeping All Students Safe Act, which was first introduced in 2009 under the title the Preventing Harmful Restraint and Seclusion in Schools Act, and which has been reintroduced periodically but has never had enough support to pass, has been reintroduced in the U.S. House. It would enact a national ban on restraints that can restrict breathing. And it would require that other restraints only be used where there's an immediate risk of serious physical harm. President-elect Biden has expressed support for this bill. In addition, on the federal level, there is a 1-week stopgap funding measure that passed last week to extend government funding until this Friday, December 18th, to avert a government shutdown. And just today, there's reports coming out that indicate that there is bipartisan support on an additional stimulus spending package, which we will know more about at the next meeting.
Fantastic. So that concludes the liaison reports. We'll move to information items. Dr. Kremenskoli, you want to start with written communication and just go down the list?
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. The board has received written communication from a number of individuals. We received written communication from Lori Fisher, Dr. Rusha Patel, So Romanoff, and the Wilmette Parent Group, Lisa Cox, Shannon Geyer, Nora Joyce, Rachel Hilligman, Molly and Peter McDermott, Michelle Babe, Chris Worley, Jennifer and Chris Latimer, Cindy Levine and Wendy Zunn on behalf of the League of Women Voters, Christine Peterson, Abby and Steve Karasik, Courtney Green, Michelle Coffey, and Avita Vagaris, excuse me. There were additional written communications that were received. If received over the weekend or Monday morning, they are listed and posted to the agenda at this point. We have administrative announcements. Second semester enrollment has been underway. We were really pleased to receive the enrollment commitments. That has allowed us to quickly process those and begin planning for second semester. I will let Dr. Glowacki give an update to the board and the community regarding second semester enrollment updates.
Thank you. District 39 families were asked to complete a Google form by November 30th, indicating any desired changes to or from in-person remote learning for second semester. Principals are currently reviewing the data and are in the process of making preliminary adjustments to any student-teacher placements that might be needed. At this point, we know that most of our students have elected to stay in their first semester placement, about 96% of our total enrollment. 90 students across all grade levels have requested a change from remote to in-person learning. 18 students across all grade levels have requested a change from in-person to remote learning for second semester. Principals have reviewed this data and believe that these movement requests can be honored at this time. We don't believe that we need any additional staff to make these changes happen. Most importantly, we do not expect to have to make any changes to teacher assignments for students who are maintaining their first semester enrollment. This is really important. The principals felt, and all of us felt very strongly that our priority would be to keep students with their teachers from first semester to second semester if possible. Principals remain committed to making decisions that create the fewest disruptions for students. This means that class sizes within specific grade levels could have different numbers of students in each class. For example, if 3 students leave one class and no students leave another class, the number of students in each classroom would be unbalanced. When we make class assignments in August, the principals carefully balance these numbers of students and weigh the pros and cons of moving one student to another, but really trying to make sure that they're as even as possible. However, when we're looking at mid-year changes, redistributing all of our students across different classrooms simply to balance the class size is not the greatest priority. Keeping students with their first semester classmates and teacher is a greater priority than having the same number of students in each class. This fall, we had heard some concerns about the class size of our remote classes, specifically at grades 1 and 3. For second semester, remote grade 1 class size, we believe will range from approximately 15 students to 23 students in any one class. So they've come down a bit. And again, there is a discrepancy because some students may have moved out more from one class than another. And for remote grade 3 class sizes will range from about 16 students to 23 students. Placement is still being worked on, and these numbers could shift a bit and change, so please don't hold us to it. These are very preliminary, but we're pleased with what we're seeing. The class size within these grade levels is within our typical class size guidelines. By the end of next week, families will be contacted by their principal to affirm second semester change request of either in-person or remote learning. And by mid-January, families will be informed of the teacher assignment for second semester. Thank you.
And I will simply add on to that, that as the board has heard over the last several meetings, we did a targeted review of our remote learning program as well as a targeted review of our in-person program. Many of those recommended improvement opportunities have already been implemented. We're eager to continue that work. And as always, we are seeking opportunities for improvement. There are other opportunities that our teams are exploring that aren't immediately being implemented, but I did want to share just a little bit. I know that we've heard a little bit this evening about our middle school and junior high school program. At WJHS in particular, we have the largest school enrollment, short of New Trier High School, in the area. And we have really attempted to maximize our space and staffing to provide as much in-person instruction as possible, while also planning for ongoing learning and practice during the times when students do necessarily need to be away from school. Our hybrid model is robust, though certainly not perfect. And we continue to explore opportunities for improvement at the 5th through 8th grade level for second semester. We will be looking at our use of Mondays as well as considering half-day schedules. Both offer benefits, but also potential drawbacks, and we recognize that. We heard a lot from our families as we were doing our planning, a preference for full-day instruction on our hybrid model. And we're learning as we go that there are some preferences otherwise as well. So we'll continue to explore those benefits as well as the potential drawbacks of those. I do believe, and just to share some additional information, I think there was some inaccurate information that was shared earlier this evening, and so I want to just kind of clarify some of that in terms of our neighboring districts. Recognizing each district really does have its own unique challenges in physical space, in enrollment, in curricular programming offerings, in staffing. All of those really come into play, and we partner really closely with each of the neighboring districts, the feeders to New Trier. There's actually 5 of them, and we learn from one another and we support one another. And so each district has implemented a slightly different model as they have drawn up their program this year and implemented and revised and improved upon it. So have we. Out of the 5 feeder districts, there are 3 districts right now that are operating fully remote learning programs. They've been in fully remote learning programs since before Thanksgiving and will remain there until 2 weeks after winter break. And there were good reasons for those districts to call for that. And I trust that they too are offering really robust instructional programming while their students are in a remote learning environment. We're fortunate and we appreciate the board's support for bringing all of our students back this week. We're really thankful. Today was a good day, though it brings about its own challenges. It's been a really good opportunity for us to reconnect with all of our students. We do know that across each of those districts, while Glencoe and Avoca and Sunset Ridge are on a fully remote learning program, Winnetka is in person and so is Kenilworth. Each district is operating a little bit differently. We know that Winnetka right now is offering half-day programs each day, but their core instruction happens every other day. So while we offer ours every other day, they offer it every day, but the core is being offered every other day. So there's some differences there. Glencoe has made some changes in theirs. Their kids come to school every day, but it's only half days as well. We know that Avoca is on a similar schedule as ours, where Mondays are remote learning days, and then they alternate Tuesday through Friday, just like we do. Sunset Ridge has half days of in-person, and Kenilworth is actually on a shortened daily schedule as well. Kids go home just prior to lunch while they're there. So each model is slightly different. Each offers some in-person instruction and some remote learning. And again, I think we have to keep in mind that every district is really grappling with how best to meet the needs of their students in light of the resources, in light of enrollment, in light of the physical space and programming that is desired. As I mentioned last week, I think, maybe the week prior, every district is also grappling with those short-term transitions to remote learning for one reason or another, whether a pod or a bubble needs to go to remote learning, or the whole school needs to transition to remote learning for short or longer periods of time. All of this is happening amid a pandemic. And I think that all of our students are getting very robust instructional opportunities right now. And as we compare and work together across the township, we really are finding that our students are continuing to learn and to grow, some through in-person instruction, some through remote learning, and some through a combination of both. And so I think we need to continue to support our students as we make that progress, continue to support our teachers who are working incredibly hard, but know that it is our commitment to continue to make improvements and to look at, for second semester, our use of Mondays, as well as the possibility of half-day schedules, knowing that if we were to make that kind of a shift, it would be a pretty dramatic shift. We're not sure that that would be possible or even in the best interest of our students at this point. There are differences across our township, but we do really work together and we are all working to prepare our students for that next level of education. So we're really proud of the robust learning program that we're offering. We also know that our early childhood through fourth grade students are in school every day in our district for full days of school. That is a little bit different than what some of our neighbors are providing right now. And again, it's just a different model. I think everyone is providing the same sorts of robust learning opportunities. And our kids are learning whether they're in school or they're working remotely. And so again, that grace and understanding of these different models is really, really important, and we appreciate that for everyone. So I just kind of wanted to highlight some of those improvement opportunities and some of the things that we see happening across the township as we all work to continue to make improvements. Great, we'll keep going. Excellent, thank you. Just a quick update regarding COVID-19 testing. District 39 is preparing to launch their COVID-19 screening program that will happen in January. We're doing a small pilot this week with about 150 students and staff who volunteer to participate. That pilot really is just to work out the kinks, make sure that we have the logistics worked out before we launch district-wide. Tomorrow morning, families will receive an email that will initiate registration for the January program. We strongly encourage everyone to consider signing up for that program. We really are eager to support this as another mitigation effort, especially as new cases are high and our positivity rates are relatively high. It will be another way for us to support and hopefully limit those asymptomatic cases from coming into our buildings. Mark.
Just a quick question. You said you strongly encourage everyone. Are you sending out a message to remote students as well, or how are you treating remote versus hybrid in-person?
So at this point, we're starting with our in-person learners because they're coming onto campus, and our in-person staff as well. At the January meeting, then the board will have the opportunity to review that, see how the program has operated so far, and then make some decisions about continuing the program, expanding the program, or maybe really targeting some of the neediest of populations for ongoing work with the program. So we're going to go that first 3 weeks in January and then evaluate from there whether or not to extend it. Lisa?
I just want to say is, with 2 kids who use this frequently, it's very easy to do. It just becomes part of the morning routine, takes 5 minutes or less, and kids don't even think, they don't bat an eye. It's just another COVID thing. So I would encourage everyone to sign up.
Many of us throughout the township have found the same, and we're excited to be one of the earlier elementary districts who are starting to implement this. That really complements our PCR testing that is available through our nursing office. We had a bulk testing event that happened in December. We will host another bulk testing event in January, on January 6th, for those who need it. But remember that PCR testing is that diagnostic testing. And so that should be used if someone is symptomatic or has a concern about exposure, has known exposure, or there now is some talk about the Illinois Department of Public Health adopting the CDC's model of PCR test helping to shorten a quarantine length of time. We haven't yet received firm affirmation of that, but we do expect it to be coming. I was on the phone today with the Cook County Department of Public Health, and they indicated that they do expect some options to be available. So again, if you are currently symptomatic, if your child, is currently symptomatic or is has some known exposure, they can access PCR testing through the nurse's office. The experience seems to have been pretty good so far. Or come January, they can sign up to participate in that bulk testing event. That will be January 6th, and registration for that will open later this December.
I just know that it's very time intensive, labor intensive to get this off the ground. And I know you'll be doing it over break. So I just want to say again, you guys are going above and beyond, and thank you. I think it will provide some comfort for families, and thank you for doing it.
Next, I just want to offer a quick update regarding our metrics team meeting. We did meet again on Friday. The team agreed to hold on meeting until January at this point, recognizing that if something were unusual to happen, unexpected to happen with the metrics, we certainly could hold another meeting in December 28th or 29th. But at this point, with the board's plan for in-person instruction pretty firmly in place, meaning we're in person this week, we're going to be on a pause that first week back from winter break, and then a full return to in-person instruction the second week. We believe that unless there is something really unusual that happens with the metrics, we will continue to monitor the metrics, but don't plan to meet. With that, I would like to just quickly share again for the community and for the board as well, where you can monitor. Let's see if this is going to let me share. Thank you. There it goes. Where you can monitor metrics along with us. So this is the dashboard, and this dashboard is generated from our weekly meeting. So at this point, if we're not meeting weekly over the next couple of weeks, the dashboard itself will probably not be displayed, but the full reports will continue to be displayed on the weekly metrics reports right here. You can click on any one of those links, and there's about a 25 to 28 page report, which gives some in-depth information regarding all the metrics that we review and monitor on a weekly basis. Below that, we see our COVID-19 test positivity rates. We know that Wilmette is in the red, and these are live data, so you can kind of hover above and see where those data are falling. We have the New Trier Township zip codes in blue and the D39 staff regional zip codes in yellow. Up above, we see that the regions, which are a broader catch basin, are displayed in the black and gray lines. These will continue to be updated all throughout winter break. But these data are also live on the Northwestern site as well as on the IDPH site for those who might be interested. Links are down below. New case rate per 100,000. Again, the colors line up with the same regions as mentioned above. And then the cases are displayed below, those cases that are identified among students or staff. If those cases are reported to us over winter break, we will continue to update this as well. Below, we see our active cases right now. Our case count within district is pretty low. we're really pleased with that, but we will continue to update that as well. And then we have our staffing metrics, which again, are updated on a weekly basis as part of our metrics review. Likely over winter break, there won't be new information to add there, but we are contemplating a few other graphs that we can add so that over winter break, the data that's most useful to the team can continue to be updated while we are on that 2-week break. Below, there are sources for relevant metrics. Again, all of these are live and anyone who is interested can use these links to access their data. Right now, we continue to be concerned with and closely monitoring the new case rate per 100,000. We'd really like to see that come down closer to that 100-point range. And again, our test positivity rate, although we're learning that as we test more often, we are finding more cases. And so those are both good and bad. We're learning from our experts on the team that we are also wanting to pay attention to the hospitalization rates and what's happening in our hospitals as well. So we're keeping an eye on that as well. So there's a lot of information here. I would encourage everyone throughout break to monitor that, but know that our metrics team then, unless there is something really unusual that happens, is planning to meet at the end of that first week back in January, on January 8th. John.
Somewhat related question. Yeah, thank you for this, Carrie. It's really helpful. I think, because I was listening to podcasts today and reading the paper, and I'm pretty sure that there are going to be lots of questions about when the staff administration are going to get vaccinated and what the priority is for that group of people. I assume you have no idea, but I think it's
We're
gonna
hearing
come
rumors,
up.
but we don't have anything
Yeah,
confirmed
right.
yet, yeah.
And it'll probably come up over the next 3 weeks. So I'll be really interested in hearing about that and how that plays in with our other plans.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's something we're keeping a close eye on. We know that Lake County Department of Public Health had some updates for their school districts. It appears probably similarly distributed to us, where there are some groups that are a little bit higher priority than educators, but we still are in that top tier of having access. So elderly people, those with significant conditions, those living in congregate settings, would have first access along with our medical professionals. And then I think teachers might follow suit from there. Our youngest learners probably would be much later. We've heard Q3 maybe of 2021 for access to the vaccine.
Right, yes, yes, it's not just hypothetical. Okay, so we should go to FOIA?
Yes. The board has received several Freedom of Information Act requests. I should say the district. Jeff Axelrod dated a request on November 6, 2020, requesting lists and spreadsheets and documents created after January 1st containing information about families who have withdrawn children from the district to homeschool or to attend another educational institution. He was also requesting documents created after January 1st containing requests of change to remote learning to in-person or vice versa. Jeff Axelrod submitted a request dated November 16th, requesting records discussing COVID-19 saliva tests from January 1 to present. Jeff Axelrod submitted a request dated November 20th, requesting a list of staff resignations for any reason, along with the dates and resignations and copies of resignation letters and other documents explaining the reasons for resignation from October 29th to the present. Also requested were any documents of leaves of absences. He also requested documentation about suspected or confirmed COVID-19 exposure, suspected or confirmed cases for D39 staff from October 29th to present, and then also requested documents about students fully or partially withdrawn from District 39 schools for any reason. Jacob Shore submitted a request dated December 1st requesting public comments read at the November 30th Board of Education meeting, including all public comments received but not read. And that concludes my report.
Yes, Frank.
Comment before we move on to the next section.
Yeah, please.
I didn't get to break in when you're doing the number one on the second semester enrollment update. And I just wanted to reiterate, everybody likes to be, if this was 2019 and everybody was in school all the time. But given that, the fact that if you have a survey, you get information. If you have likes and dislikes, you get information. But when you have to take a affirmative action to place your child in one situation or another, that's what I view as the real data point. And the fact that so few people, 19, decided that the in-person options that we had available were not sufficient, and significantly more people decided that everything that they've heard about our in-person options made that desirable to move and change into. I think that's an affirmation that, given we're doing something that's not as good as anybody would like it to be, that what we are doing is good and is being recognized. And I think that's representative of a lot of work from administration and a lot of work from the teachers. So I appreciate that type of positive information, that people vote with their feet. That's the most important vote. And I was surprised at how small the numbers were, and gladdened. So thank you.
I'm gonna add on, Frank, to what you just said, which is I'm grateful that you were able to keep kids with their placements from first semester to second semester. I know that wasn't a given, and that required a lot of work, but I know that's very meaningful to people, so thank you for doing that. I also have a follow-up question on the FOIAs. I know we had authorized or encouraged you to get, to hire somebody to help with all these FOIAs. Do we still have the help? Do you still have the help that's possible to make this a little bit more manageable?
So the FOIA assistance that we receive at this point is from our legal team. This is a legal process, and so that information has to be reviewed by the legal team in order to be released then subsequently. So that continues to be a pretty significant amount of work, both for the administrative team as well as for our legal team. We do have two positions currently posted that would assist us with this. One is a position that has been vacant since last year. That's our communications director position. So that is a significant amount of work that is spread across our administrative team. The other is an additional position, which Lisa, I think is the position you might be referring to, which is a position in the Human Resources Department to assist not only with these kinds of processing of data, but also with our COVID response and with supporting our staff in their ability to respond to and make decisions about quarantines and the proper response to illness. And that position has been open and is accepting applications, but we have not yet found the applicant right for that position. We have two open positions.
I was gonna say, I was just literally thinking about what we could do to help get the word out here. Okay, great. So let's keep going with our information items. Should we move on to annual business?
Yes, thank you. We have Mr. Boltemeyer, who will present the 5-year financial projections covering fiscal year 2022 through 2026.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. As we've already had a little bit of discussion this evening about the financial projections that cover 2022 through 2026. I have a few slides to go through, and then we'll look at the summary of a couple of scenarios that really are the two paths that we see as likely for next year. First, start with the property tax assumptions that are built into the forecast. The district's on the revenue side, about 84 to 85% of the district's revenue is received through property taxes. So the assumptions that go along with that are always going to be very important and weigh heavily in the success of the district. Built into there is a 2.3% levy for the 2020 levy that was approved in November. In future years, the next levy for 2021 has an estimate of 1%. We're currently sitting at 1.3% with 1 month to go. The remaining years are projected at 2% CPI for each year. Another really key assumption within our financials is the amount of new property growth. The average new property growth over the last decade has been 4.2 million. And as you can see, the value of that has ranged from 200,000 to about 728,000, with an average at 415. So that's the amount of money that would be added to our levy each year. That is from new construction that's above and beyond what any current property owners would be paying. And then the kind of the last key assumption on this side of the equation is the net collection rate for property taxes. We've set that at 98.6%. That is equates to where we've been at for the last decade. The range that we've seen has been just under 98% to something in over 99%. So the range doesn't really swing that much, and as you can see, a 0.5% change is worth about $275,000. Some additional revenue assumptions: evidence-based funding, replacement taxes, and federal aid. We've kept them flat through the remaining years of the forecast. State mandated categoricals are flat as well. Interest income is based upon the fund balance within those particular years. Local revenues in the ed and transportation funds, which would be things like lunch fees, and transportation fees, those would be the biggest ones. Those are set upon our current fee structure carried forward. The KEEP program, the assumptions based on the revenue side of this program, the current fee is $64.60 per student. For next fiscal year, we're looking at 1.65 million. And then for each year after that, it would be 1.86 for the remainder of the forecast. This chart shows much what I alluded to earlier. About 85% of the district's revenue is property taxes. I think worthy of noting, and shouldn't be a surprise for this community, is that we are almost entirely dependent upon our own resources. So when you add in that other local revenue, which is really fees paid by the families in our community, you're looking at somewhere between 91 and 93% in a typical year that the district relies on local resources. On the expenditure side of the equation, always things that are going to weigh heavily are the salaries and benefits that the district has. Certified salaries with an expiring contract, all the years are to be negotiated. We do have an own amount for the support staff for fiscal year 22 at 2.3%, which mirrors CPI. The remaining years are to be negotiated. For exempt and administrative, following with past practice, we would mirror that with CPI for a given year. We have projected health insurance costs to increase at 5% per year. And then for a lot of our other expenditures like purchase services, supplies, outplaced tuition, the increases for those would be at 2%. The only one that would be at 3% in the forecast would be the outplaced tuition. On the construction side, there are several projects that the district is considering not only for the summer of 21, but for many summers going forward. As you can see, the amount that's spent each summer is, based upon, the needs leading into that year combined with the available resources to do projects. So you see a low of just 800,000 and a high year of around 4 million. The KEEP program is another kind of newer assumption built into the 5-year forecast. The costs for the program are set at 1.4 million for next year. and then 1.3 thereafter. The first year just reflects some additional expenditures that the district will need with some additional classrooms, some furniture, and some classroom materials to get those going. And then, of course, obviously the construction cost to expand the last two buildings. The operating, here's a chart for the operating expenditures of the district. Much like you would expect on the revenue side to be property tax heavy, on here, you're looking at 80% of our expenditures are tied to salaries and benefits. Every single year that is a very common thing. So, what happens there will weigh heavily on the impact of our finances. This particular chart, one of the nice things I like about this is compares the revenues and expenditures for the operating funds by fiscal year. And visually, it can tell you is a nice story of like where, not only where you are, but where you're heading. So to be able to see each year that the operating revenue is a little bit higher than the expenditures is great to see. The one caveat, obviously, for fiscal year 21, the year that we're in the middle of right now, our expenditures are projected to be slightly higher, and that is entirely due to the COVID world that we live in. The impact of COVID is for District 39 is a very solid $2 million, and I'm very confident that if we were not living in a COVID world, fiscal year 21 would have had a balanced budget or better. And one last point as it relates to this chart, while you do see some slight variances where the revenues are higher than expenditures, it's worth keeping in mind that it is to help maintain those fund balances. You always want to find yourself in a position where the revenues are slightly higher than the expenditures. And then this last chart shows the last 5 years of actual fund balance. So it's the operating funds combined fund balance as a percentage of expenditures. And then it has the current year projection and then going out for the next 5 years. What you will see with the red lines is kind of the high water mark at about 65%, where the district has planned to try and not really keep that as the high water mark, and then to figure out what to do with fund balance. And then on the bottom side at 40% to try and always have 40% fund balance to withstand any unknowns such as COVID or pension cost shift or something that maybe we're not even thinking about altogether right now. And one of the nice things about that 40% is that if you look at the very bottom of the slide, ISB's financial profile score, of which the district has had the highest rating for well over a decade. When they look at this particular calculation, they're looking at it from a 25% perspective as the minimum to receive the highest rating. So let me switch over to a summary just to show what things look like in the operating funds. So one last thing. So I wanted to show this chart. So the capital projects, as you can imagine, we've got lots of things in the pipeline. And as I said, it's always going to be dependent upon the amount of money that we've got available at any one given year to tackle the projects that we need to. What you see in here is projects for this current fiscal year and the next 5 fiscal years. The items highlighted in green have already had approved bids, and quite frankly, since we're in the middle of the school year, those projects would have been completed. The items down here a little further, like the second floor AC in the classrooms at the junior high, Ramona and Mackenzie Keep expansion projects. Those in yellow, those are to signify that we are in the middle of architectural design work and working our way through. We have just the end of last week hit the 85% design mark And shortly after the winter break, we'll hit the 100%. And then, so what you see in the out years is, some air conditioning for large spaces within the district, roofs and boilers, windows, univents, some typical life safety work that you might expect for any school building. One thing I would point out for each of these is a document like this is extremely fluid, and projects will certainly be juggled from year to year based upon the needs. So this particular summary page shows the 5-year projection summary for the operating funds of the district for fiscal years 22 to 26. And it encompasses all the assumptions that I've previously mentioned. The one key thing to keep in mind is this assumes that when we start school in August, we are back to what we would consider a normal operating environment with no COVID restrictions. So the roughly $2 million worth of fund balance hit that the district is experiencing for this year goes away, and we go through this particular summary allows for the 3 projects that we mentioned, including the 2 KEEP projects, and getting those programs up and running. And so, looking at the wrong one. When you scroll down to the bottom of fiscal year 22, what you see is 44% fund balance at the end of fiscal year 22, 48% followed by 43, 44, and 48. That is a scenario where we would find ourselves should we be able to go back to operating at normal. Feel really good about where this summary shows that we are at currently, where it shows that we're heading, being able to tackle the things that we want. The next thing to keep in mind is, okay, now what happens if we have to live or operate for either all or part of a year with COVID restrictions and the additional expenditures that come with it? Same assumptions. The only thing that changed is the COVID component. You scroll down to the bottom of fiscal year 22, and you see that we're at 40.58% of fund balance. So we still have some wiggle room, and with any plan, I would offer that something like this is always a fluid document, and while 0.58 doesn't necessarily seem like much, there are always moves and counter moves to any situation that might. I think the one thing that we've learned throughout this year is we don't really know what's going to happen. We found that out many a times. So that's the one thing I feel good about either of these scenarios is as we work our way through, with this end goal of being able to tackle the construction projects and still offer the great educational programming that people expect. We have, things that we can adjust to and still end up where we're at financially as we work through things. Then the one last thing I wanted to show, which is really just showed it in the slides, but I thought it was worth showing again because it has 10 years worth of data. Much like the fund balance graph where you saw that the district was in really good shape. I do appreciate this slide as it shows that the district, continues, other than this one COVID year, you see a very strong trend of 5 years of actual data, plus the 5 years projected going forward where revenues are exceeding expenditures. Puts the district in a healthy position relative to our 40% fund balance objective. That is all that I have on the 5-year projections, if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to say thank you because you incorporated several of the specific pieces of feedback that we mentioned during the committee as a whole. I really appreciated that. I like seeing that, so I appreciate it. The one question that I had, and this is not directly to this report, so if you need to follow up, that's fine. Did we have any, do we have any information on how our Keep 39 finances went this year with COVID, et cetera?
So I did look at that. And I think it's, I guess I'll answer it in two ways. As we kind of keep an eye to the future. The first is that leading up until we announced our plan at both places, we were fully enrolled. We had, I know for sure at Central, we had more students than we had spots. And I think we may have even been in the case at Harper as well. So that was very encouraging. And then once we, once parents saw what was going to happen, the numbers did drop off, due to the uncertainty. So the revenue for the current year is definitely lower. Obviously, we were committed to those expenditures. So if we were truly just to look at what the Keep revenue is versus the additional staff, it would certainly look worse than it did last year. I think as it relates to that though, the encouraging thing is if people start to get that sense that like, hey, we're going to be, in person, we have the extra room. Certainly the vaccine news is great to start building towards that confidence. We'd be starting to trend back towards where we would expect that to be. So.
Do we have any idea like what the size of the drop off in terms of students? Are we close to full? Are we far from full? Anybody? We can follow up on it too.
Yeah, we
That's
can
fine.
follow up with
That's fine.
the actual enrollment numbers from the sectioning that we did.
No problem.
Happy
Let's
to
do
do
it that way.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes, I wanted to reinforce that this is a good report and it was a good presentation at the committee of the whole, and you've updated some things since then, so that's great. I had a couple of points I wanted to touch on with the bar chart, the operating combined fund operating slide. So if you want to pull that up. Okay, a tiny bit of history here because I think it shows that what we did and why we did made sense. When we first started talking about Keep, there was a desire to obviously have all of the schools represented at the same time. And as a school board, we considered that and we looked at where the reserves were going. And we said it'd be prudent to do part of it first, get a feel for it, see where our budgets are, see what the uptake is, and then do the second round. We were hoping for a full year of regular, but there was lots of hopes this year, so we'll move on from that. We did get the feedback though. There's a lot of people that voted for it with their pocketbook. Again, it's nice when we have surveys, but when people actually write checks, that means something. So there was a lot of interest. That's a good thing. The programs we've been doing aren't the programs we were hoping we'd be doing, but they still have gotten enough good feedback that the children are still going and parents are still happy. So with that data, we made the choice that said, let's postpone, let's wait a year, get that information, make sure we have the financials. As it turned out, this was a much different financial year than we expected. So it was a good decision that we brought it forward to this year where we knew what was going on. And because of the way we budgeted, we were still able to do the second round. But I think it was really important that we gave ourselves that flexibility. And as it turned out, it might have been very needed if we hadn't had some positive numbers, unfortunately due to COVID in the second half of last year. Related to that, I think it's extremely important that when we have a financial option, that it's between viable options and it's not, do this or take this really other bad option and do that instead. And it was talked about briefly that the work that the administration did, especially given all the other stuff that they've been doing, to put a viable option in front of us for what it would look like to meet our commitment to the community. Because we committed to the community that if we postponed, that it would only be for 1 year. And if we couldn't build because finances wouldn't allow it, that we would have an answer for Ramona and Mackenzie. And the administration put the work in. They came up with a viable, not desirable maybe, but as good as you could do option for how we would support that so that we could make a financial decision based on what we'd like to do and not have to say, this is our only choice. And I think that's very important, and I'm glad we did it. It was done well. A lot of pieces fell into place so we could make an easy decision, but it would have given us an option to have a discussion and not be forced into something good or bad that we didn't have the data for. So I appreciate the work that went in to doing that. I have two more quick ones. Later on, or no, earlier in the report, you have the revenue for KEEP forecasted out, 1.8, 1.9 million going forward. I think something that not for today, not for the short term, but something that the board will be considering is when, if, do we want any of those things to ever go to full day kindergarten? What this budget says is there's a $1.8 million hit to our budget every year if we go to full day kindergarten. That doesn't mean we can't do it, but that means that's a baseline for our discussion. And just to put that into rough back of the envelope numbers, if you look at a 5-year projection, that would lower our reserve at the end of the 5 years by 15%. So again, having this information lets us have those kind of conversations. So it's very good that we have that, but I just wanted to kind of put it in perspective. We took steps. We said we have to have the facilities to be able to support kindergarten of any kind, enrichment or otherwise. We have to have a program that's viable, and we've done those two things. If we decide that it's appropriate to go to a full day kindergarten, the next item would be that 15% budget hit. And that's great that we've gotten to that point, because those others are big hurdles that we've been able to get an option, a viable option to the community, and be prepared to have those discussions. So that's great. And then I just had one last small point. By Wilmette, our property taxes, but also the business property taxes help pay for the schools. And I know a lot of the community businesses, the second round, it started to really hurt them. So if you get a chance, buy Wilmette. It helps our schools, it helps the business, it helps our community. Thank you.
Frank, others? John?
I don't think there's anything left to say, Aaron. I don't know what you could say. Frank said it all. Anyway, thank you. I really appreciate you working with us to get us over the hump here for this big financial decision. I think it's excellent work. That's all I had to say.
I had a question about the new property growth. I know we know the average and the range over the last 10 years. I'm wondering if there's any trends. For example, has it been increasing as we get further away from the economic troubles of the late 2000s, or is it the data more scattered and impossible to predict from year to year?
So the one thing to keep in mind is because I had data going back to right about when like a year before the recession hit on new growth. And you can see, because our property tax system has such a lag in it, that even though you might be in a recession, you could still have like a good year show up on your financials. And so there's a little bit of a lag. I wouldn't even be surprised that when our final levy comes out this coming summer, that the new growth, is it like extremely on the low end, just because there is such a lag. But you had about a 3 to 4 year period where it was really low after the recession, and then it trended up, and it was, I would say it was more in that like 12 to like 20 million range, or up to, I think the high was 24. So it was on the higher end. Though in that 10-year average, there's certainly the first few years are really weighing it down. I think each of those years were below 10. So it wasn't, I didn't feel like it was very, once you got away from the recession, I didn't feel like it was very scattered. I feel like it wasn't even by any means, but it wasn't like, hey, 20 here, then down to 7. It was, something in the teens usually. So
I'll just comment on that a little historically. So one thing that I hope we'll continue to keep an eye on is that individual in a town this size, individual projects can actually make a pretty big difference. So we've had times where certain properties have come online or whatever, and it's changed things. So that's one of those that's tough to look at the historicals without the context of, what was actually being built. Because there'll be things that are like, well, why would that year have been good? Well, because this building was built. So I hope we'll continue to sort of keep our ears to the ground on what's coming online.
I mean, I think that's embedded in every year, like the tax levy process is finding out from the village what's going on. We know there are some projects, that are of decent size that are more than just somebody building a nice home, that are on the horizon. So that will always kind of be in our focus.
So I just want to reflect for a second and say that, over the years being on the board, we've worried about pension cost shifts, and we've worried about rising insurance costs, but we never in our wildest dreams imagined a global pandemic. And the fact that we have weathered this storm so far, and that we are still on track to do what we were hoping to do in terms of investing in our properties, and we're able to afford the PPE and the additional staffing to keep going. Hats off to the district now and in the past for kind of its fiscal stewardship to enable us to do this. Because I know that a lot of school districts around the state of Illinois are not so fortunate. So good job. All right, other comments before we close this section out? Okay, Dr. Grimscholar, should we keep going? Board policy review.
Have board policies that have been provided to the board for review.
Board members. Are there any comments? Would anybody like to discuss? Okay. Then we are moving to our second public comment period. This is another opportunity for the community to address the board. If there's anyone in person who would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. And then we'll move to the Zoom. I want to remind people, if you have not spoken, you are allowed 3 minutes. If you've already spoken, you get 1 additional minute for your second time. Is there anybody who would, please come forward. Can you just, I'm sorry, just so if people haven't been here before, can you state your name and community of
Evita
residence?
Vulgaris, Wilmette parent. I just wanted to clarify my previous comments. Kenilworth, Winnetka, and Glencoe are the 3 districts that come to mind. Kenilworth is actually in school 5 hours each day. They're not in school for lunch and PE. They have 1 hour remote every day. Winnetka, 5th to 8th graders go to school every day for half day. While it's true that their core subjects are not taught every day, they have longer periods in these, and all instruction core subjects is in person. Glencoe has had half a day in person every day since the beginning of the year. Through Thanksgiving week, they were in school. In all three of these districts, core subject instruction has been no less than 50%, and in some 100% in person. In contrast, Wilmette 5th to 8th graders are receiving far less in-person instruction, and Wilmette students to date have been in school for less than 30% of the school days, with a significant chunk of the time being spent in non-core subjects. Okay, can I just add 1 comment?
No, time's up, I'm sorry, thank you. Are there other people who'd like to make a public comment? Tony, do we have anybody online waiting?
Yes, we just had someone raise their hand. Christopher, I'll move you over. Hold on. Go ahead and unmute.
How's that?
We hear you.
Okay, very good. Well, yeah, while the meeting was going on, I just did some, being an engineer, I do this kind of thing. I did some back of the envelope calculations. I looked up the calendars for the other districts and compared them to us. And this is what I came up with just for your information. If you were a 7th grader in Kenilworth taking a math class, you would, by the end of December, you would have had 75 classes. I call it 75 hours, but I guess a class is 50, probably 50 minutes or so. You'd have had 75 classes of in-person math. If you were in Winnetka, now Winnetka's a little different because they're doing every other day and they have extended classes, but I figured 43 complete classes. And I don't know if that would translate to 50 or 54 of ours. I don't know what the conversion is, but you can just take the 43 as a number. If you're a 7th grader in Wilmette taking math classes, you'd have had 25 classes in front of a teacher, just for what it's worth. Thank you.
Tony, is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment?
So we have one other person in there. If you want to make a public comment, raise your hand in Zoom. Currently, that person is not raising their hand in Zoom, so, and there's no other people in there, so I think we're done with public comment.
Okay, great, thank you. So we will continue with the agenda, and we're going to move to action items, the consent agenda. The next order of business is the consent agenda under action items. Are there any items that the board would like pulled from the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Panzika, please proceed with the motions.
I move to approve the personnel report dated December 14th, 2020. I move to approve the second and final reading of the Board of Education policies 5:10, equal employment opportunity and minority recruitment, 5:100, staff development program and professional opportunities, 7:10, equal educational opportunities, 7:180, preventing bullying and other aggressive behaviors, and 7:185, teen dating violence prohibited. I move to approve the accounts payable for bills listed between November 17th, 2020 and December 14th, 2020 in the following amounts. Educational fund, $270,280.02. O&M fund, $324,231.50. Debt service, $735,971.25. Transportation, $98,495.50. Capital projects, $392,865. Tort fund, $241,171. For a total all funds of $2,063,314.27. I move to approve the manual checks issued between November 17th, 2020 and December 14th, 2020 in the following amounts. Educational fund, $575,703.69. O&M fund, $16,438.48. Transportation fund, -$174.01. Tort fund, $3,500. Total all funds, $595,468.16.
May I have a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Would the clerk please call the roll?
John Cesaretti, Frank Panzika,
Yes.
Amy Paling,
Yes.
Mark Steen,
Yes.
Aaron Stone,
Yes.
Lisa Schneider Fabes.
Yes. The ayes have it. The consent agenda is approved. I'm going to go to conference items. We've got old business. Amy, board work on equity.
There's no update tonight.
Great. New business. Good and welfare.
I had a good and welfare.
We got lots. All right, let's start with,
Oh, I'm
We'll
sorry.
go
I didn't see you
around.
raise.
Why don't we start? Let's.
Yep, I got it. So Frank, why don't you go
All right.
ahead?
So we've been having Friday morning equity or metrics meetings. And one of the things that we do when we start off the meeting is Carrie says hello to everybody. So I have a tool to help her with that.
This is interesting. Can I open it? Oh, good.
Like my favorite part of Friday morning, is saying hello to everyone, but. And from my favorite store.
Where all things come from.
The only story.
Oh, look at that. Morning, everyone.
So my son had absolutely no idea what that was. So you might want to explain if you know.
There with a
No,
smiley
okay,
face
all
on
right.
it.
So I guess I have to explain. For some of us that are a little bit older, thing called romper room,
Ah.
and there is a magic mirror.
Oh, no.
And at the end of each romper room event, the teacher, which was the person in the thing, would hold up the magic mirror and call out, you know, I want to say hello to Amy, I want to say hello to John, I want to say hello to Fred. And I thought this would help you, everybody.
Very, very thoughtful. Thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
really appreciate that.
And if you get aggravated, you could just show that instead of your face. Nobody would
It
know.
will be a good reminder for me to smile on the other side too. Thank you. That's cute.
Aaron.
Yes, I really appreciate how you started the meeting by talking about us working together and relying on each other. And it reminded me of an experience I had last Wednesday morning. In between my morning swim and going to work, I was doing what I have now dubbed Christmas carding, meaning I was working on my cards. And I had my iPad and I was queuing up some music, and as you know, on YouTube, it'll suggest songs for you to sing or for you to listen to. And there was one that had the District 39 music teachers from, I think it was June, singing and playing instruments for Lean on Me. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna check that out. And was overwhelmed by all the emotions that came with that. And, first of all, it was a reminder of what an incredible music program we have. And that video we saw at the beginning of the meeting, that little guy in green, he was playing those bells with gusto. I mean, like that was exception. And it just made me think, we have all these different stakeholders. I truly believe everybody wants what's best for the kids. It may not look the same from everybody's perspective. And I recognize that there are a lot of people who are struggling, but I think if we could lean on each other, and I, am imploring everyone, including myself, to really examine at this time of year when you're looking at renewal and starting afresh to end the pandemic stronger together, just like you said, and what we can do to lean on each other instead of it seeming like a battle.
Others?
This is actually on behalf of the entire board and with some collaborators as well. We were sort of thinking about how it does feel like with this break coming up, it is somehow feels like there might be a change. At least for me, there's a bit of a sense of, okay, we're starting to see how this might play out. And there's a small sense of optimism, at least on my part. And we wanted to, with that break coming up, we wanted to sort of send you all, you, Dr. Kremesnikole, you, Dr. Glowacki, and all of your team, and all of the D39 folks, we wanted to send you into that holiday with some thoughts. These are thoughts from us, and like I said, from some collaborators. So thank you very much, Tony, for making this possible. Hit it.
Good evening. On behalf of the Board of Education, I want to wish all of you a healthy and joyous break. May you kick back with those you love and share the warmth of family and friends, whether they're near or far. We thank you all, teachers, staff, the administration, parents, and students for all you've done this year. Everyone had a critical role to play, and you more than did your part. We know it hasn't been easy, and it won't be easy for a while. But with the vaccine distribution on the horizon, 2021 will certainly be a better year for all. Happy holidays, District 39.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thank you from all of us to all of you. And not just from us. We asked some D39 students to send us videos as well. We hope you enjoy their messages to you.
Hi, this is Megan Feldman. Happy holidays, and thank you so much for everything you do, District 39. Bye.
Hi, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Your hard work really pays off, and it's really nice when we get to be in school whenever we can, so thank you so much. Thank you so much for trying to keep us in school as much as we can.
Thank you, Mrs. Cartwright, for all you've done.
Dear D39 administration, we want to take this opportunity to thank you for all of your hard work.
You have had our backs. You have worked very hard to keep us moving forward in our education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kremscoli, and your team for all the hard work you guys have done this year. We really appreciate you guys keeping our school open, and you guys have made this year so enjoyable. Thank you guys so much. Have a great break.
Thank you to the D39 administration and board for keeping us in school and handling COVID so well.
And thank you for making remote learning so much better this year than last year.
Thank you, District 39, for everything you've done this year.
Thank you, Mackenzie, and especially Miss Young. I've had a lot of fun e-learning this year. Thank you, Mackenzie, and especially my teacher, Miss Blomberg. I've learned a lot this year, and my favorite topic is math.
Thank you, principals and teachers for school.
Hi, this is David and Clara Crossgrove. On behalf of our entire family, we want to say thank you to the teachers, administrators, staff, and board of Wilmette Junior High School for everything that you've done for us this year. We really appreciate it, and we hope that we all have a better 2021. And shout out to our good friend, Kate Dominic from Archbold, Ohio. Hi, Kate. Happy holidays, and thank you to all.
This is my last year at Central. Thanks for making it great.
Hi, Miss Gremley and all the teachers at Mackenzie School. Thank you so much. Have a great break.
Thank you so much, Wilmette administrators. It was so awesome of you guys to try and help us keep our school open, because it's so much more fun in school when you get to see your friends, in my opinion. Even though e-learning does help us, but I like in school better because there's no glitches. Thank you so much. It's awesome. Bye.
Thank you to all the people in District 39 for helping us get through this pandemic.
Hi, administrators. Thank you for all the work you've done for us this year. I really appreciate it. Thank you for making school a happy and healthy place to be.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Bye.
Thankful for my teachers and being able to go in person school.
I'm having a great time during remote learning. Thank you to everyone who makes that possible, from teachers and administrators to custodians and everyone else.
High school administrators, thank you so much for helping all the students in our school stay safe and keeping school open. I know you're doing a lot of hard work. I just want to say thank you for everything, and school's been really fun even with COVID happening, and I'm so grateful for all of you and how hard you're working. Thanks.
Hi, y'all. Thank you for letting us be at Mackenzie very safely and healthy. Also, a special thanks to our custodians, Mr. Ojana and Mr. Mike. And also thanks to Nurse Sanchez for keeping the school healthy and safe. Bye.
Thank you so much for everything you do to make sure that I have a great school year.
I want to say thank you to my high-class teachers for in-person learning. Happy holidays. Thank you, Mr. Oshana, Mrs. Bishke, and Mrs. B for being in Mackenzie. Bye. I thank Mrs. Bishke, Mr. Oshana, and Mr. Mike for being awesome people. Very awesome. I would like to thank all the teachers that are in person for keeping all of our schools safe and fun. And I would especially like to thank Senora Schneider and Miss Lankowski for making every day awesome.
Hi, my name is Maeve O'Brien. I'm an 8th grader here at WJHS, and I just wanted to say thank you to the teachers and administrators for all the hard work that you do to make this year as engaging as possible.
Thank you, District 39 teachers and administrators.
For all you do.
We love you.
Thank you, Dr. Cremascoli and the administration. Thank you so much for making it possible for us to go to school this year. And happy holidays.
You having fun?
Yeah.
Good to see your friends.
Yeah, it's good to see my friends in school and be able to spend a little time with them, even if we have to be social distance.
Hi, my name is Maddie Newman and I go to Ramona Elementary School. I am a remote learner this year and my teacher is Mrs. Hartman. I just wanted to thank all of the D39 staff and administration for putting their effort in making this year as great as possible. Thank you for all your hard work. And remember, we are all in this together.
You guys are great teachers. Thank you. Have a great break. See you in 2021. Bye.
Thank you. Have a great break. See you in 2021.
Thank you, Wilmette Public Schools, for letting us go back. And then I can see my friends and my teacher back in person. Happy holidays. Bye.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams and Mrs. Wilkin, for being the best teachers. I love kindergarten.
Oh my gosh, you guys, that was fantastic.
So I just want to thank Mark for putting that together. And I just want to see if we can all stand up and say thank you to the teachers and staff. What a year it's been.
What a year. That was amazing. And I hope that you'll give us the opportunity to share that with our teachers and staff and principals, those who are here and those who are watching remotely. What joy. You know, that it has been an incredibly challenging year. And yet when you see the kids and the impact that you are having both in person and remotely for our learners across Wilmette, it is a bucket filler right there. So thank you so much for putting that together for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. We are so grateful. We really wish that you take a much needed break. I promised Dr. Cremascoli that I would not email, call, or text her. At least that first week.
I was gonna say. All of tomorrow.
Wow, you're taking all the fun away.
What do you mean?
But we are grateful, and we are also truly hoping 2021 will be fine.
It will be a fantastic year, and we are going to finish this year off really on a very positive note as well, thanks to everyone's hard work and collaboration. So thank you. That was amazing.
So we can't really, I don't know, outshine that. So we're just not going to have executive session. All right. So I am really just looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
May I have a second? Great. All those in favor?
Yay.
And the
Happy
meeting
holidays.
is adjourned. Happy holidays is 9:01.
Well done.
Wow.